Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Benjamin Cure Show on a Sunday for, I think, the first time in this show's existence. We've played around a lot with the dates over the years. Mondays, Tuesdays. I think we started off on Thursdays initially. Now we're moving to Sundays. Hey, life is what it is, and we have to adapt. And obviously, if you follow me on social, you know what's going on. But if you don't worry about it. I hope you still follow me on the show's socials, if anything. And yeah, this show will never go away. I will always make time for it. The more time that I take away from it, for example, and I don't want to spend too much time on this because we have a whole show to do, the more I realize how important of an outlet this is for me, just emotionally and mentally. So very excited to talk to you guys today. 3 major stories. First one, Steph Curry and that shot that he made, which we're going to get into because it is truly unbelievable, because there is a more important side to it. It's not just the clip itself, it's what it represents. The second story I'm probably going to talk to you about is Donald Trump, the 45th and 47th president of the United States, being present at the NCAA Division I Wrestling Championships and everything that's being talked about there. I have a pretty strong opinion on that. And my third story is something that seriously does hit close to home, that I'm trying to find the right word here. Is very concerning, and it's something that everybody's been talking about in the landscape of college sports for a long time, and it's something that I've talked about on the show prior, but as I learn more from people within the situation right now, it concerns me deeply in a non-BS kind of way, and I want to address it with you guys, and so I think that'll be an interesting conversation. And then at the end, I'll kind of talk to you a little bit more about our schedule moving forward and how things are going to work out. But if you're just sticking around for the show itself, no worries. It's going to be a good one. I can't wait to continue on this journey with you guys. So let's get started. That Steph Curry shot, one of the most unbelievable shots I have ever seen. We've seen a lot of shots that before AI, we were like, okay, that's video shopped, or like that's fake, or that's scripted, or that's done with like graphics after the fact, or that's done with CGI. What Steph Curry did yesterday on Saturday at like 6 p.m., or at least that's when the video was posted, is truly unbelievable. So I'm going to actually, I never do this because I have a fear of like copyright on this show, but quite frankly, this show is not necessarily big enough that we're going to get in trouble for it. And this is an iPhone video too, so I want to play it from the beginning. Steph Curry makes an insane shot look easy. Daily Loud is the main account that had posted it, where it went mega viral a day ago now. 74,000 likes. If you know anything about Twitter, that is big time viral. But Steph launches this shot from the opposite tunnel, more than a full court shot, and everybody's just in shock, and he makes it look so effortless. And I watched that video and I think, man, like, only Steph Curry, right? That's an unbelievable shot, and I don't want to make a mountain out of a molehill, but when I see that kind of thing, and right now there's some news surrounding Steph Curry, because apparently Shams reported 10 minutes before I started recording this that he's flying down to Miami for potentially playing on Tuesday night against the Miami Heat, so that's an interesting storyline in of itself. But to me, there is no doubt in my mind. I'm done arguing on the wall. To me, LeBron James is the greatest basketball player of all time, and he's my GOAT, and I think many people in my generation would agree, and even if they don't, to me, that's my GOAT. I'm not going to argue with that. But to me, there has never been a player who has impacted how the game of basketball is played more than Steph Curry. And you're going to say, whoa, Ben, there's been more impactful basketball players, Michael Jordan and Magic Johnson. Yes, MJ, the Michael Jordan brand, the Jordan brand has forever impacted basketball. I'm not denying that. Magic Johnson, games were on tape delay when he came into the league. The NBA Finals was on tape delay when Magic came into the league. Their impact, I'm not minimizing that at all. But the impact on how the game of basketball is played, no player has been more impactful to the sport and how the game of basketball has been played than Steph Curry at the AAU level, at the middle school level, at the travel team level, at the high school level, at a overseas level, in the collegiate level. People were afraid to take the kind of shots that Steph was taking, especially when they were growing up, out of fear of getting benched and probably even more scarily getting chewed out by your coach. Why are you taking that shot? Do you practice that shot? Like that whole meme of those shots not being something that you should consider in a game, and Steph Curry making those somewhat socially acceptable to try out. He has changed the way that basketball is played at a fundamental level, at all levels of the game. It's not just in the NBA. In the NBA, we're shooting more threes than ever before, and it's not even close. He changed the NBA, but he changed college basketball. He changed overseas basketball. He changed middle school basketball. He changed AAU. He changed little kids who were already getting a little bit more sassy with the moves as they got older, right? Like, kids were more skilled than ever as I got older, and you could see that when I was in middle school, clips would come out of kids who were very young, like first grade, second grade, who were like doing very advanced, like dribbling through their legs and whatnot, and like all the whole nine, more so than we were. And then you saw it with Steph Curry, just the popularity of the game explode, and like the fun, finesse nature of taking risks and just trying things that nobody's ever seen before. That exploded under Steph Curry. And to me, like I said, it's unfortunate that we live in an era of LeBron James where maybe, you know what, Steph Curry in another era might have been considered the greatest basketball player of all time. But because LeBron is in his era, he sort of gets overshadowed. And to me, it's undeniable. I would still say LeBron James is the GOAT, especially over Steph Curry. And in this era, I don't think it's particularly close because of LeBron's accomplishments, his longevity. And I think while Steph is great, there's a significant gap between LeBron James, the player, and Steph Curry, the player. But I also look at that and I'm like, it's hard for me to look at NBA history and talk about players who have impacted how the game of basketball is played. Not just the game. Obviously, LeBron's had a major impact on the game. Michael had a major impact on the game. Allen Iverson had a major impact on the game. Magic Johnson had a major impact on the game. But most of those, except for AI, that the impact was on the sport, on the league, on the brand. Steph Curry changed, and I can't say this enough, has changed how the game of basketball is played. And I don't think he gets enough credit for that, even though we do, like that's not this might not be a hot take. Plenty of people credit him with that. But I think as he gets older and we get out of those prime 2016, 2017, 2018 years, people are like forgetting at the end here, even though Steph Curry's still playing great basketball, just how great he was. I think people forget that. And I think people forget how much of an impact he has made on the sport, and he deserves a lot of credit for it. Next thing here, though. So Trump made an appearance at the NCAA Wrestling Championships over the weekend in Philly. And, a lot coming out there about two major things. Number one, there's seemingly being a problem amongst people with the 45th and 47th President of the United States attending these events. And them seemingly using it, them being a particular side of this argument, I thought you wanted politics out of sports. Well, I think to a certain extent, I don't want politics necessarily becoming like I don't want it becoming a major like setting for politics. I don't want sports to become that. But I don't mind, and call me crazy, I don't mind President Trump being at the wrestling championships or at a sporting event like a UFC card, because to me, I've lived in an era now where we have two major contrasting points of view. And this may seem a little political, but it's really not. It's more American and patriotic than anything. We lived in an era where President Joe Biden, the 46th president of the United States, really, especially towards the end, it's undeniable, wasn't attending these sporting events, wasn't popping out to all these different competitions or cards or whatnot. And we've now learned, because of declining health and whatnot, that was probably best case scenario for him, and that was probably the smartest thing to do. But I have no problem with President Trump showing up to events and making it known that he's excited to be there, if nothing else, just as a fan, just to have pride as an American sports fan to see our guy succeed, and watching him interact with John Jones and watching him interact yesterday with Wyatt Hendrickson, who pulled off one of the greatest upsets in NCAA history. That doesn't upset me. And that's not I understand he's a very divisive person, or polarizing person, I think is the better word, but I don't have a problem with him showing up to the events, especially this narrative that he's not well received at these events. Look at how the players idolize him. Look at how the athletes idolize him. Look at how they go up to him. Look at how they wave. Look at how they shake his hand. Look at how they interact with him. And that's taking out the massive pop that comes from the crowd that is like a WWE level pop when he walks into any arena that he's in. That's not manufactured. That's not political. That is not party politics. That's not any of that. That is people being excited and pumped and energized by seeing a world leader there. And dare I say, to a certain extent, the athletes themselves, I don't think it's a problem to have him there. And I'll take it a step further. To me, a really nice moment that is now coming out. And you know what? I'm going to find the tweet because I don't want to butcher it. The Oklahoma senator that was present at that match, Mark Wayne Mullen, and if I'm butchering his name, I apologize, but Oklahoma Senator Mark Wayne Mullen went on Fox after the tournament, and he was actually present at the competition, at the championships with President Trump, and he told a story about how it's not just a manufactured thing. So what we're now learning from Oklahoma Senator I don't want to butcher his name like I said. Or we're learning here from, hold on, his name's not popping up now. Because I'm playing a video, I apologize, just to try and check it out. Mark Wayne Mullen, what we're seeing now is apparently President Trump had developed a relationship with Wyatt Hendrickson going back years. President Trump actually met Wyatt Hendrickson when he was still in the Air Force Academy 3 years ago, and Wyatt Hendrickson introduced himself with a sort of funny story but serious question, asking if President Trump could give him a waiver so that he could fly in jets, because he was an Air Force Academy guy. And President Trump jokingly said, look, you're a much bigger guy. I'm not sure if you're going to fit in the cockpit. But President Trump, obviously, as the president, has scheduling conflicts and things that he has to go to. And so he was at the event at the NCAA Division I Wrestling Championships in good faith. But apparently, he was supposed to leave 2 matches before Wyatt Hendrickson's actual match. But he turned around, reportedly, to Mark Wayne Mullen, the Oklahoma senator, and told him, I can't leave until the big guy fights. And in the end, Wyatt Hendrickson pulls off what is being called the greatest upset in NCAA wrestling history, and he immediately puts over the flag on his shoulders, walks over to the president, embraces him, could not be more excited, could not be more proud, could not be more energized by the moment. And what feels like a true Captain America moment, DC, Daniel Cormier was on the call. Like, to me, I have no problem with that. And if you have a problem with that, like, I feel like there's something wrong with you, to be honest. I thought it was an amazing moment. I think it perfectly bridges the political divide that we have. I think moments like that where it's like, I think everybody's just prideful and excited to be an American in that moment and to represent what it means to be a great American. And as someone who is an American citizen who's very proud to be from this country, like, that is an awesome moment to me that people try to pick apart on the internet. But that's further proof that, like, the internet is not real life. Because when President Trump walks into that arena and you've been told, amongst other things, that he's not welcome at sporting events, really, because the pop that he gets when he walks into UFC cards and when he walks into events like that is truly undeniable. So say about it what you will. I thought it was a really cool moment, and I have no problem with President Trump being in attendance at any sporting events here in the United States, especially if it's to support our American-born athletes from a sense of pride. Our previous president didn't do that, whether it was because of declining health or because he didn't want to or whatever the case may be. Like, that's fine, but I think it's cool that we have someone who's willing to do that now. Third story here. And this one, I don't have any notes on because this is based on, I don't want to say too much, but like personal conversations that I've had surrounding this topic. So there's a couple, obviously, NIL related rulings coming down the pipeline here in April and whatnot. I believe 2 major ones. I've now been told, I knew of one previously having to do with the salary cap of sorts that's coming down from the courts for NIL moving forward, or moving, not necessarily NIL, but like it'll affect the total amount of money that teams can use to pay players directly, and then NIL arguably becomes its own thing and becomes arguably more important, or like even more important than it is now. But I was having a conversation earlier, and you guys are probably thinking, Ben, spit it out, but like I really want to be careful here, and I really want to be nuanced, and I really do want to be a little profound with this. We all love our college football teams, and like now during this time of the year, we're like, man, like nobody's paying attention to college ball right now unless you've like got a family member, or like a friend who's like really involved in this, right? College football is not all the craze at this time of year. We're in the middle of, I don't want to say April, but it's right at the end of March. College football is not a huge priority right now in people's minds, but it is certainly at the forefront of the minds of the people who are directly involved. Players, coaches, staff, parents. I'm having conversations right now with players who are leaving schools or who are, being forced out, and the things that I'm hearing in regards to NIL. And people, I think here's the real point, and I apologize. But and maybe I should have thought this out better, but it's based on a conversation that I had today, not too long before this show. So, and other conversations that I've had over the past couple of months. But this really bothered me today. People who are at schools who are being told certain things by coaches and are being essentially baited and switched on, which has happened for years in college football and in college athletics. And that's the reality, unfortunately, if you talk to any player, current or former, in college athletics. but it feels like it's happening more than ever, and a lot of it is centered around NIL. I would ask fans of your favorite college football teams, or fans who root for their favorite college football teams, or college football fans in general, and even collegiate fans in general, maybe even like basketball, but I'm talking mainly about football. We get so mad at our guys when they transfer, when they hit the portal and they leave. And we get so mad when when they end up looking for another spot and they're trying to continue their journey, and maybe they weren't a great fit at the school that you're rooting for, and you could not be more upset because they were a great player or they were a great culture guy or maybe both. And fans tend to take it out on the players and the lack of loyalty. And we always get hit this generation with the lack of mental fortitude, which, you know what? With a lot of older people, I will agree. My generation lacks a lot of mental fortitude. And that's not me coming from a place of authority on my generation or me saying I'm better than the rest of my generation or I have more mental fortitude than them. But I understand where that comes from, and I do see it as well, and I do observe it, and I do agree. But the idea that we're going to use, or the concept, or the talking point or the narrative that we're going to use that, players now or athletes now, it's the mental fortitude that's getting in the way of their development, or that's getting in the way of them staying at a place, and they don't want to stay at places because they don't have the mental or even testicular fortitude to stick it out. That's BS. Based on the kind of stories that I'm hearing, if you were a parent, if you were a brother, if you were a friend, if you were somebody who cared about these kids, and these young men, I should say, more than just your favorite team, you would understand, and you would be a little more sympathetic to reasons why players and teams and guys are transferring schools. Coaches are pulling bait and switches with the NIL. They're promising one thing and doing another. Then they're telling you, look, we can't give you that because we don't have that available for you, but we're going to go out here and give another guy who's unproven, who's not on our current roster, we're going to give him quadruple or triple what we're offering you, when they're not as seasoned, or like they haven't proven themselves, and they're not part of the program, and they don't understand the culture, and you are a formidable starter, and we do like you, and we do think you're the guy, but we're going to go out here and offer this guy more. NIL is a crazy, more than ever, and I understand this really well now, unfortunately, in a way that I honestly, I kind of wish I didn't. I kind of wish that I hadn't heard these kind of stories, because to me, it does taint a little bit the rose-colored glasses that I, as someone who's, if nothing else, a casual fan, looks at college football through the eyes through. Like, I look through the lens of a casual college football fan who, just like you guys, loves waking up on a Saturday during the fall at like at 8 a.m. or like 8:30 and watching College Game Day and watching McAfee and watching Reese Davis, and this past season watching Saban, and of course watching Kirk and watching those guys who are just awesome. And I think about the players who are getting criticized and whose stories are coming out about, and I can't but wonder now, like, how many of those stories aren't true? How many of these players are getting thrown under the bus? How many of these guys are, trying to do their best and are being promised one thing and then not getting it? And then for the good of themselves and their career are saying, you know what, like, I've got to move on. I can't put up with this. On top of the fact that it's, number one, low-key disrespectful. Number two, it's like, I've got to look out for me. I've got to look out for my family. And the whole, Nick Saban has talked about this a lot. He's all for NIL, and he thinks it's important for players, and he likes that players can now be compensated for their contributions to the team financially in a way that they weren't able to previously. But Nick Saban has also said, like, he believes there's a problem when players are attaching their value to something monetarily instead of thinking about how schools can give them value and a program can create value for them in the future as they develop them. Yes, development is very important to a team and to a school and to a player and what the school can offer you. But you also can't be one of these schools that is offering development and is offering a better way when you don't have a better way, when you don't have the best coaching staff, or when you don't have a better coaching staff, and you're also not offering NIL in the way that other programs are, and then you go out there and you start leaking stories or criticizing players for going to schools that do have, number one, better coaching staffs, are much more capable of developing that player better, and also can offer more monetarily. And as I think about this, I realize, like, like some of the audience might be like, Ben, you're all over the place with this one. And I apologize. But this is a real, raw thought, like not too well thought out, based on a conversation that I had earlier today, mixed in with things that I've heard like over the last year and a half that like shock me a little bit. But like this was kind of the nail in the coffin for the topic for me. I think NIL is important. I'm glad that students can use it. But I do want to say for the record, I know programs are mishandling NIL and are using it not necessarily in an illegal way or in a way that's wrong or that violates some sort of like bylaw. But it's morally wrong, and it's being used as a bait and switch against certain guys who don't deserve it, who are trying to create value for themselves, who are willing to stay at an institution, but are essentially being insulted and slapped in the face by lack of NIL deals or by a rerouting of a deal to another player. I'm telling you, I'm going to stop this because now I'm realizing like the more I hear myself, the more I think, man, you guys probably don't understand anything. And I'm purposely like trying to leave a ton of holes in this story because I can't get too specific. But know that I side with the players more than ever. And if nothing else, it's just a petition to you guys as the fans. Don't take it out on your favorite teams, players when they leave or they hit the portal. Because a lot of schools out there, even the biggest ones, huge brands, the biggest brands you can think of, historic brands, are pulling the ultimate bait and switch on these kids. And I hate to say it, but like I've repeated that phrase a couple times, but that's what it is. And it's very advantageous, and it's a little bit dirty, and it's pretty sly. So with that being said, just a little PSA there for college football fans. Take it easy on those guys. They're trying to create value for themselves. They're trying to take care of their family. They're trying to do what's best for them. And they're trying to, at the same time, give a school and an institution their all when maybe that institution is not giving them their all, contrary to popular belief or contrary to previous promises. So with that being said, probably a confusing way to end the show, but that is all for today. Quick notes here. So like I said at the beginning of the show, I can't even remember how much I said or how much I didn't, but we've obviously moved this show to different days across time and whatnot. We've been doing this for 3.5 years now. The show's achieved over 5 million views across all platforms. Very proud of this. Very proud of our audience and what we've built here. But I'm curious to see how it all plays out. Because like I said, things move very quickly. I'm currently a junior in school. So like that is obvious. I'm a full-time student, which I think sometimes people forget. I do this show as a hobby, if nothing else, because I love it. It's a passion project of mine. But because of work and certain things going on, which like I said, if you follow me outside of sports and you follow me on Instagram, like you know, a lot of shit's going on right now. So I appreciate you guys for bearing with me more than anything else. But I think the best approach for the show moving forward is probably, especially now during like spring and summer, Sunday shows. And then in the fall, I need to get better infrastructure-wise, and I need to make sure that like we're really nail this down. Because like right now during this time of the year, for those of you who stick around during this time of the year, I appreciate the hell out of you guys. It feels like a little family, and I enjoy it. But also like it's a little more casual during football season, during the fall, especially as we ramp up towards that time. I think this is going to become a nightcap-like thing. So if you love Shannon, you love Ocho, I'm not comparing myself to them. They are so damn funny. They're so damn entertaining. I could hope to one day be a tenth of what they are, both analytically and personality-wise. They are the best. They are awesome. But I think like in terms of actual time structure, because I want to be able to talk to you about those Sunday night games, and I want to be able to talk to you about the Sunday games, but I can't be recording at like 6 o'clock when like, sure, the 1 o'clock window's done, 4 o'clock window's about to end, but it's not over yet, and then I can't talk to you guys about the primetime game. I don't love that. So we'll probably end up doing a nightcap-like structure during the fall. But for now, Sundays with an afternoon, evening release time are probably going to be the way that we go about this whole thing. So if you sticked around this long, our engagement on YouTube isn't necessarily what I would love it to be, especially in the comment section of the full form show. So 2 questions I would like to pose to you. How do you view like Curry's influence compared to other NBA legends? Because I really do want to know, like I said, Magic's great, Jordan's great, but in terms of impact on how the game of basketball is played, I don't want to leave anybody out. And it was a pretty raw thought on my part. Has anyone had more of an impact on how the game of basketball is played than Steph Curry? I want to hear your thoughts in the comments. And then also, like, what are your opinions on political figures attending and engaging in like sporting events. And that one, like, I don't want it to get too political in the comments or too, like, don't start insulting people or don't go after people's politics or anything like that. But I'm curious, like, how do you feel about it? What kind of lens do you view it through? Because I feel like I'm seeing it very differently from a lot of the chatter that I'm seeing online. Because, like, it was our second story on the show, for example. I wanted to lead with Steph because I think Steph is such an important legend to the game. But, like, to me, by far, even with the UFC card and even with March Madness, nothing got more traction on social media than the 45th and 47th President of the United States being at that championship. And, like, the interactions that he had and the pop of the crowd. Like, that's a different kind of conversation because it links in politics and it links in sports, which are two of the most, important things, two of the things that we love most as Americans, whether we care to admit it or not. So curious your thoughts on that, those two questions. With all that being said, that is all for this week's show. Thank you so much for tuning in. I will see you next week, probably same time, probably same day, but we'll see. I don't want to promise something and then not do it. I would assume I'll have another show out by tomorrow, Sunday this time. But until then, that's all. Thank you so much.